Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to all of you today. My name is Haziq and I am from Excel Academy. Today we have Miss Carol Anthony and she will be sharing important changes in Employment Act 1955. If you have any question regarding today's topic, do leave your message in the comment section down below and Miss Carol will answer them right after her presentation. Okay, I pass this mic to Miss Carol.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to have you all here during lunchtime. Okay, so we call it lunch and learn because I hope you're having lunch. You can have lunch while you're learning about this topic today. All right, let me just put on my slide. Okay, so today we are going to share, I'm going to share with you for 1 hour, at least 1 hour, Employment Act 1955, but I'm going to zoom into Employment Amendment Act 2022 because there are some changes this year in the Employment Act. Most of it will come into effect on the 1st of September this year. Okay, there's only a few days away, 6 days away. All right, so let's just go into some of the items. So briefly explaining about myself, I'm a trainer. 𝗟𝗪𝗡𝗖𝗄𝐿 certified trainer. I've been doing training on anything related to Employment Act, labor law, and human resources for 5 years now. Previously, I was attached to few corporate companies in the capacity of HR. So I'm a HR generalist and also specialist. All right, if you have any other questions about me later, of course, after the session, you can ask me. Right. So this will be the contents for today's session. I have zoomed in on some of the items which are changed in the Employment Act. Major ones which will affect almost everyone working as an employee and for employers who hire employees to know, right? There are some changes which is insignificant or minor. I'm not going to share that because those changes are like change in the clause, you know, section 60 now becomes section 61, you know, things like that. I'm not going to share, or some of it could be some of the terms change. Like example, domestic servant now is changed to domestic employee. So these are minor changes I'm not sharing today, all right? So I'm sharing some of the major ones which will have an impact on your day-to-day operations of the company. All right. So let's go in. So introduction to Employment Act 1955. So why we have Employment Act 1955 in the first place? All right. For employee, there's 3 stakeholders involved: employee, HR, and organization. So it's important for all these 3 stakeholders to know about Employment Act. Employment Act is only one of the labor laws which affects your day-to-day operations if you're an employer or employee. So this is one of the most important ones. Right? So let's dive in. For employee, Employment Act, or short form we call it EA 1955, protects the employees. Okay, because there are a lot of rules and regulations outlined there that the employer need to follow. And then it strives to keep workplace fair and safe. It also provides guidelines. So if employees is stuck, not sure whether the employer is doing the right thing, then they can refer to the EA for guidance. For HR, of course, you can use this act to enforce discipline. Okay, if they are not doing anything correctly, you can go to the EA and say, okay, it is in the EA, because of that, you have to follow this. All right. And then it also defines what employer and employee are responsible for. Of course, some of the responsibility which are not mentioned here, you need to mention it separately in your company policy, right? And of course, HR has a guideline on rules and regulations. So as I mentioned here, so some rules and regulations you need to have on your own, which you can put it in your policy. And some of it you use EA as a guideline. right? So for organization as a whole, you need to adhere to this Employment Act so that you don't get penalized by the authority, all right? And you help company to enhance and enforce rules and regulations which you may have. And then because of that, you can focus on your business and profitability of the company. So this is an overview why it's important for these three stakeholders to know about EA, and especially now with all the amendments, you need to keep yourself updated. That is why we are here today. All right. Okay. So let's dive in first before we go into the details. What is an employer? So employer is an organization. It could be an institution, agency, company, or even non-profit association, all right, who hires an individual to do all this. Okay, so this is a new definition. It's always been this case, but now is specifically outlined in the Amendment Act. So if you see below, I've put in where it comes from, Section 101C. So for each of the amendment, you will see the bottom line. I will put the section where it comes from. So easy for you to go back and refer to it, all right? So here is a definition they have outlined specifically. What is an employer? So let's run through quickly. Where he controls or directs the manner of work another person. Okay, when you hire an individual, you need to control. Okay, this is what you do, and this is how you do it. Okay, and then directs the hours of work. You can tell them, okay, 9 to 5 is your working hours. Then he provides necessary items like computer, maybe stationaries, printer, and all those things. D, where the work of another person constitutes an integral part of his business, meaning if the employee is not there, the business cannot run, right? E, the person does the work only for the individual or organization, right? To benefit them. It could be benefit in terms of giving information to the customers or profitability, things like that. F, whether or not payment is made by him in return for work done him by another person. So this one, it says that it should be payment made or not made, as long as he's doing all this A to E, then he's considered an employer. So this is very basic information, all right? So let's move on to the next one. So employee. So that is an employer. Employee is an individual who works. It could be part-time, full-time, or what we call contract. Okay, and this one, it could be oral or written. So most of the time when we employ someone, we give a offer letter. So that is called written. So some organization, it could be oral, meaning you just come in, we haven't given you the letter, maybe there's a delay, or some companies, they don't even give letters, all right? They will just say, okay, you come in to work 9 to 5, I pay you this much salary. So, and then the person starts working. So that is oral, express, or implied, right? Then we move on. It's the same, this one, definition for employee. So I won't repeat this. Same like employer is giving all this to the employee. Now employee also follows whatever the employer says, then is considered employee, right? So again, this is in the section 101C. So you want to look it up, you can write down if you want this section name, number, and then later you can look it up. All right. So categories of employees. So all these are considered employees. All right. This is very important to know whether they work full-time, part-time. Part-time could be maybe they work only 2 days a week, or maybe they work only in the mornings, 9 to 1. Every day, 5 days they come, 9 to 1. That's it. Okay. Temporary could be someone you hired on for 3 months or 6 months to cover for somebody else, or because you have some project, urgent project to complete. Contract could be someone you hire for 1 or 2 years. It's not a permanent full-time employee. You said, okay, I need you only for 2 years, right? Foreign employees, of course, is covered under EA. And then lastly, apprentice. Apprentice, there's some exclusions, okay? So you need to take note. These are the sections that exclude for apprentice. All the other sections apply to them, okay, except sections 10 to 16, right? So now we zoom into what are the changes which will be implemented in 1st September. So watch out for some announcement as well. So of course, today we are having a live session. As said, now currently, what I'm going to share, this is already indicated in the Employment Amendment Act. But just a caution, there were some talks by the HR Minister that there may be some deferment or changes. So watch out for some news from the HR Ministry or even the Labour Department in the days to come. Okay, so for now, what I'm sharing is true for today. Until today, it stands. Okay, tomorrow it may change. That's what I'm saying now. All right, so bear that in mind. Okay, so this one, the first change, let's talk about the first change. The scope of the Act, the entire Employment Act previously, it covers employees who are earning 2,000 ringgit wages or below. And then those who are involved in manual work, some like even a driver for the CEO or even lorry driver, even though you pay them more than 2,000, they are covered under the Act, okay? So the change now is everyone who is considered employee are covered under the Employment Act, everyone. So that's why there's now they define the employee in details in section 101. So whoever you hired, no matter what the salary, 20,000 per month or 30,000 per month, or even a CEO, MD, all are covered under Employment Act now. Okay, so that's one major change. And look at this clause here. This clause says those who are wages exceed 4,000 a month. Okay, 4,000 a month, the following clause does not apply. Okay, although the Act covers everyone, all employees who entered into a contract of service. Okay, they say, okay, I'm going to work for you as an employee. Although they are all covered, but exclusions are here for those who are earning 4,000 and above. Okay, what are the exclusions? This one. Okay, so for details, you need to look at the first schedule. All right, first schedule is there. So this one I've just put in summary. What are the exclusion? More details, you need to refer to the schedule. Okay, so exclusion meaning they cannot ask for payment if they work on a rest day. Usually rest day for office workers is Sunday. So meaning those who are above 4,000 ringgit salary or wages, you don't have to pay them if you ask them to come to work on a rest day. So overtime also excluded. Okay, you don't have to pay them overtime. Shift work hours. Okay, usually shift work hours is confined to 12 hours a day. So if it exceeds, okay, they are not included for these shift work rules. Same thing, number 4, work done on a holiday. If they come back to work on a holiday, you don't have to pay them the overtime. Number 5 is the same. If on a holiday is a half day, they come to work, also you don't have to pay them. And number 6 is termination, layoff, and retirement benefits. So usually we do have only termination or layoff benefits for those who are retrenched. So once they are retrenched due to companies not doing well, business is closing down, then we need to pay some benefits. So okay, so we were here, calculation of wages. Now we go on to pregnancy and maternity. So previously it was 60 days or currently it is still 60 days. From 1st September, you will need to give 98 days for all female employees if they meet the criteria. The criteria for entitlement is still the same. Okay, so you refer to this section 37. Criteria is all the same. I put down here anyway, no change. Okay, the only change is previously 60 days. From 1st September, it will be 98 consecutive days. So consecutive days with full pay means whatever salary, wages you're paying them, you need to pay them for the 98 days. So consecutive means rest day, holidays, Sundays, off days, all included. All right. So the rest I've put down here is the same. Okay, all the criteria for entitlement is the same. Only a number of days is the change. Right? So I won't go through in details. This one is all the same. Right? Okay, next one, next change, work hours. So currently it is 48 hours per week. Now it's changed to 45 hours a week. The rest of the criteria is the same. I put it down here. It's all the same. Only now it's reduced by 3 hours in a week. So it will be translating to about 12 hours in a month. So what this would mean is overtime calculation may change. Okay, the calculation formula may change, and then you may need to pay more overtime for the staffs if they are expected to work the same number of hours. Okay, example, now if they're working from 9 to 6 minus lunch, 45 hours per week is minus lunch. So let's say they work 9 to 6, 5 days, Monday to Friday. That will be 9 hours minus lunch 8. So 8 times 5 days is 40 hours. Then Saturday, let's say they work for 9 to 1. Then it's only 4 hours. So 44 hours, then it's fine. There's nothing to change. But usually office, I think office environment, most of the staff, they work from 9 to 6 or 9 to 5. And Saturday's half day. But this will have impact for more on those different working hours, like for the retail industry, those who work in the supermarket, or even F&B industries like McDonald's or Burger King, you know, things like that. So you need to adjust. But even if your office hours are more than this now, if let's say previously was 48, now you need to reduce. So for example, you need to put 7.5 hours per day of work. Okay, so you may need to do that. So this is essentially 45 hours in a week. Other criteria, no change. Okay, section 60A. So moving on, we come to the next change, which is the leaves. So leaves part, there are two different changes. One is paternity leave. Paternity leave is for the male whose wife is going to give birth. All right, if they have given birth, they are given 7 days of leave. So this one also mentioned here, continuous days, meaning similar to maternity leave is continuous days. This shall start from the day the wife delivers. Okay, from that day, if it's a working day, if it's a full, if delivered in the daytime, this was not specified in the EA. Okay, so you need to use your own judgment. If they delivered daytime, then you consider that 1 day, then give continuous 7 days of leave. All right. Otherwise, maybe if it's nighttime, then you consider the 7 days to start the next day. All right. So this one is based on your company's judgment. It's not specified in the EA. EA says 7 continuous days. And these are the criteria. So the male must be married. It's different from maternity leave. Maternity leave for ladies, there's no criteria that she should be married. Okay. It could be she's not married. Fine. But for male, there's a criteria should be married. Okay. Restricted to 5 confinements, same thing. Okay. Just like female, 5 children, and must be his own biological children. Okay, cannot be his stepchild or adopted child. No, not counted. Must be his own child. And then must be employed for 12 months prior to taking such leave. So let's say the delivery date is on the 31st of August. So before that, he should have worked for the company for at least 12 months. Otherwise, he's not entitled, right? Lastly, employee need to notify due date at least 30 days in advance. So if 31st August is the due date, which is the wife about to deliver on that day, then 30 days before would be 30th of September or 30th of July, sorry, or 1st of August, they need to inform the company. Otherwise, he won't be entitled for the 7 days. This is to protect the employer so that the employer can plan, because 7 days is a long period. So you need advance notice so that you can plan for replacement or reschedule work. Okay, that is why this rule is here. Okay, next, still talking about leave. Now we come to sick leave, right? So sick leave previously, total was 60 days together with hospitalization leave, right? What it means is these are the days given for the employee. 14 days if employed for less than 2 years, 18 days if employed for more than 2 years but less than 5 years, 22 days if employed for more than 5 years. So these are sick leave, meaning if they go to a clinic, then they are given a medical certificate to say that they are sick, they cannot work, then they rest at home. So this will be sick leave. Next is 60 days of hospitalization leave. Hospitalization leave can be 2 ways. One is you're actually hospitalized, admitted in the hospital. So during that days, you're considered on hospitalization leave, which is 60 days. And then sometimes it happens, second scenario, once you're discharged from hospital, example, you broke your arm, hospital won't keep you too long. They will say, okay, you need to go back home. You may heal in 3 months' time. So the 3 months or how many days, whatever days they give, it should be deemed as hospitalization leave, meaning because they were in hospital, later they got discharged, but they need to rest at home. That one you need to consider as hospitalization leave. So 2 scenarios. One is admitted in hospital. Second is hospital gave them a medical leave, but to stay at home and rest, but deemed hospitalized. Okay. So now the rule is they have additional days. It excludes sick leave. So previously, if they've taken 14 days sick leave, they only have 46 days of hospitalization, because you need to minus 60 minus 14. So now you can't minus. Now is they have 14 plus 60, which is 74 days. Okay, that's the new rule, excluding sick leave. So those who work more than 2 years or less than 5 years, they have 60 plus 18, 78 days. Those who work more than 5 years, they have 60 plus 22, which is 82 days. Okay, so that's the change. Next, hiring of foreign employees. So no employer shall employ a foreign employee unless prior approval has been obtained from Director General of Labor. So they need to submit a form to write in to get approval. So employer directly have to do that. Previously, they go through agent will employ someone, they will just get their approval and then they will give you the employees. But with the new rules, they have to go through direct to Director General. Once get approval, then only they start the process of actually hiring the foreign employees. For more information, you need to go to section 60K to get the details. Next, same section, 60KA, next one is termination of foreign employees. Previously, this was not stated. So now they stated some rules if we want to terminate a foreign employee. Okay. Again, we have to inform the DG 30 days of the termination of service. Okay. before 30 days, and termination must be due to these reasons. Okay, employees terminated maybe because of misconduct. Employment pass has expired. They come in through the employment pass. They are given 1 or 2 years to work. Usually it's 1 year, renewable. So once it's expired, of course, you need to terminate their service. Or the employee is repatriated or deported, meaning you're going to send the employee back, maybe because due to illness, family issues, it could be many reasons. So all these you need to inform the Director General 30 days in advance. Next clause here, if the employee resigns or absconds, the employer shall inform the DG within 40 days. This is, second part is the employee themselves resign or abscond, run away, disappear. Okay. So within 14 days, DG has to be informed, right? So more information, of course, you can find in this section. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now we come to the flexible working arrangement, what it is, okay? So these are the 3 main rules I put down in 3 boxes, what the employer should do. Okay, remember this covers all employees, regardless of wages. So flexible working arrangement, what are the things? You can vary the hours of work, vary the days of work, or vary the place. Okay, vary hours could be, example, now they are working 9 to 6. So later you tell them, okay, you can work, or they request to work from 8 to 4, example. Okay. Or they can say, I work from 10 to 7. That is vary hours of work. Or vary hours of days. Now they're working Monday to Friday. So they may say, okay, I want to work Monday to Thursday. Or I want to work from Tuesday to Saturday. Vary the place. It could be they are working from home, which is very common during the pandemic, right? Or it could be working from a co-working space. Now there are a lot of co-working space where you can go into a place, rent the place, or a cafe. You just plug in and then start working from there. Okay, so this is the what we call flexible working arrangement. You see the box on the right. So these are some of the things which can be lumped into flexible working arrangement. Okay. So this one I extracted from the HR minister who gave this example in one of his talks. All right, it's not in the act, but he gave these examples. So when we come to about changes to Employment Act EA, so usually we do refer to the act, but we also need to pick up some things which are said by the ministry, by the Labour Department. So that's what I do. So this one is from the HR minister themselves. Okay, so these are some of the things he shared that company can do. So next, after the flexible working arrangement, what need to do? Next, employees given the opportunity to write to employer to request for flexible work arrangement. Okay, so they are given the opportunity, okay, I want to work from what time to what time, days, which day, I want to work from home, things like that. Next, employer may approve or refuse the application within 60 days in writing, indicating grounds for refusal. So employer is given the chance to approve or refuse within 60 days. So the employee need to be made known, okay, you have 60 days. You can't say, oh, I want vary hours by next week, cannot. So they are given opportunity 60 days. Of course, employer has the chance to approve earlier, is fine, but cannot go beyond 60 days, right? And then this is the part that you need to put the reason why you refuse. Okay, so these are the sections. Next, dispute on wages. So penalties, fines does not exceed 50,000, currently 10,000. Okay, if there's any wages dispute, sometimes the employee says, okay, the company is not paying me correctly, they are deducting too much from my salary, it's not fair, or they short paid me, they underpaid me, things like that. If there's a dispute, then they can bring up the matter to the Labour Department, and this will be the fine accorded to the employer. All right. So previously the fine was only 10,000. Now they increased the fine to 50,000. And then the second line you see is, let's say once they paid the fine, then they never correct the situation. They are still underpaid. Then for each day of offense, they need to pay 1,000. All right. This is what it means here. So I put it in a very clear summary. Right. Next. Discrimination, this is a new one. Okay, so any sort of discrimination now is already in the EA. Previously it was not there. Of course, it's widely practiced. Some companies do discriminate openly, some they do it hidden. Okay, all right, they don't even tell everyone, but some they do that. Okay, I've worked as HR for more than 20 years, so I know this happens in some industries. Yes, some bosses do discriminate. Okay, in terms of it could be because of disability, because of religion, race, how the person looks, you know, or gender. You know, I don't want to employ a female worker, they will go on maternity leave always. You know, they may say that. Okay, so these are all sort of discrimination. So now we can't do that if there's any discrimination. If the employee files a complaint, if proven the employer is discriminating, then these are the fines. Again, the same thing, the fine has been increased. All right, 69F. Next one is sexual harassment. So similar to discrimination, the fine is also the same amount. So this one, they want the employer to exhibit conspicuously, meaning prominently, must be seen, a notice to raise awareness of sexual harassment. Okay, so this you see this poster here, I've taken from the ministry website. Okay, so you may go into this ministry, okay, to download this poster. You can put it in your notice board, or anywhere in your maybe meeting room, conference room, or walkway in your office. So this is a requirement, you must do that. Okay, so this is one poster, or you can come up with your own posters, and it will be to raise awareness of sexual harassment. So you see here they gave the example of pictures, because sometimes the words people won't understand, or sometimes they don't even read. Pictures play an important role. Okay, so once you see, okay, we know, okay, this is sexual harassment. So same thing with discrimination here. Earlier we talked about discrimination. You can do the same. Okay, although they don't give the thing, you can do the same, right? So but sexual harassment is a must. You must put a notice, okay, already in the EA. All right, next. 14. Forced labor. Okay, this clause came about because of foreign workers, okay, foreign employees, where most of the companies employ them. They don't follow all the whatever rules in the EA, okay, because remember they are under EA as well. They don't follow, make them work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, forced OT, and all those things. So that is why this one came about, forced labor. But of course, it applies to Malaysian employees local as well. So make sure that you don't force them to work number of hours if they cannot. Okay, sometimes overtime is also forced. I've seen that happen. Okay, so the boss will be sitting there, work finish at 6, but the boss still will be there watching everyone. Make sure nobody goes back before he goes. He stays until 8, everyone also stay until 8 to show that they are good worker. Okay, it has happened in few organizations I worked. So this is form of forced labor. If the employee complains, then this is the fine or imprisonment for the director. Okay, so the director of the company need to make sure all this is not happening in his company. Right. So that's all in summary, the important changes happening from 1st September, right? So what next? What you need to do? You know all these changes are happening, 6 more days to go. And remember I said, watch out for any other announcement or news in the meantime. If there's any deferment, postponement, make sure you relate that to your employer or your boss and also the employees, all right? Otherwise, this is what you can do. So first, what you can do is determine and separate employees who fall within the scope. Change job grade if required. Remember, just now I mentioned 4,000 and below can claim overtime, can claim for payment for rest day, holidays, and all that. Those above cannot. So what I would do, suggest, is my suggestion, change the job grade. So it's easier for you to determine, okay, who we need to pay OT, who we don't have to pay OT, okay? Second, review and amend all employment contracts. Whatever contracts you might have put working hours, sick leave, if you have put in there, you need to review and amend it. Rules, regulations, policies, and employee handbooks. So employment contracts, usually you don't amend, okay? What you can amend is rules, regulation, policy, employee handbooks, but do review them, and then you need to notify the employee to say that, okay, now there's a new regulations, you shall follow this. So whatever is in your employment contract is now there's an addendum. You can attach an addendum to tell them, okay, these are the changes. So employment contract stays, but changes, you attach another set of document to them. All right, so this is a right way to do it. Second, third, introduce new forms to be submitted for approval and for record keeping. So now paternity leave is there. You need to create a form for them to submit, because remember there's a 30 days rules. So you need to put in a form so that you can keep track. Same with flexible work arrangement. Put a form in place so that they can apply through the form, and then you can keep track, okay, within 60 days we are replying to them, we are getting back to them. All this record, let's say there's a complaint to the labor department, you need to go to the labor department, show the labor officer, okay, this is what we have done. You have all the proof in black and white, very important, right? Lastly, fourth, brief the employees. You need to brief them what need to be done. Okay, what are the changes? What are the changes? Sometimes they are not aware. So it's the responsibility of the employer or HR or the organization manager to brief them. Okay, these are the changes. This is what we are going to give you. And the changes are reflected where? Tell them. Rules, regulations, policies, employee handbooks. Changes are reflected there. And then these are the new forms that you need to follow, come up with a memo. You can brief through memo, brief through email, brief through meetings, town hall meetings. There's so many ways, Zoom meetings, okay? Take the opportunity to brief them before it comes into force, all right? Not after that only, then only start telling them, all right? So briefly, this is what next. A lot to be done actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, all right? You need to go into details what you need to do for each step. All right. So this is for your reflection. Now that you know new things are happening, how will you use your new knowledge? What resources or support do you need? You may need additional support, additional information. What are you leaving behind? Anything that you've been doing wrongly or incorrectly or insufficiently, you need to leave that behind and take only the new knowledge that you have now. All right. So that concludes our session for today. I hope to have enlightened you on all the important major points and amendments that are reflected in the Employment Act 1955, which comes under Employment Amendment Act 2022. All right. So speaking of that, this one just to let you all know, of course, we did very briefly today, about less than 1 hour of all the amendments. We do have a 2 days training program next month, 13 and 14 September. We have scheduled that to explain further about Employment Act. And this one shall also include 𝗖𝗄 Act and 𝗘𝗵𝕋 Act. All right. So in details. So if you want more details, more information, especially on how to roll out the new changes, what are the forms to use, some guidelines on how to design forms, and maybe what to input in your employee handbook, then you can attend this session. All right. Okay, so that concludes our session. And now we open the floor for Q&A.
Okay, Miss Carol, thank you. Okay, so right now we have a question from Miss Shikin Jalil. And hi, good afternoon. I need some clarification regarding the full schedule. Basic salary is 35,000 ringgit. If plus all other allowance incentive, it will become 4,500 in total. To determine either that person is entitled for overtime is base basic 3,500 or based on total 4,500.
Okay, so for this, you need to see the definition of wages and the Employment Act. Okay, they don't talk about only basic salary. Okay, Employment Act says wages. So wages, it will include basic salary plus all fixed allowances, excluding traveling and transportation allowance. Okay, so fixed allowance, whatever you pay them, attendance, it could be shift allowance or overtime allowance, anything that you paid continuously on a fixed basis, all include under wages, except traveling, transportation, maybe parking, mileage claim, toll, all those excluded as wages. They are not wages. Okay, then you calculate and see whether they reach 4,000. If they reach 4,000 and below, then you need to pay them overtime. 4,000 above, then you don't have to pay overtime. Right? Hope my explanation is clear.
Okay, the next question is from Miss Nicole Choi. Hi, I would like to know for working hours per day, if we arrange at 8.5 hours, would that be fine?
8.5 hours. The Employment Act says that you need to schedule 8 hours, okay, per day. So you cannot exceed 8 hours per day. But upon mutual agreement, you can put it for 9 hours. Okay, in the EAX, it says 9 hours you can put. So this one, it will be based on mutual agreement. And when they say mutual agreement, of course, you need to come up with some explanation why you do that. In case later the employee goes and complains, then you need to say, hey, why do I put 8.5? Why do I put 9? So you can even go up to 10. The Employment Act says spread over 10 also can, but why? You need to give an explanation. So to be on the safe side, keep it to 8 hours, right? Okay, hope that explains.
And the next one is from Suziana. When it will be implemented for SLO employees based in Sabah?
Okay, for Employment Act, as we all know, is only for those employees in Peninsular Malaysia, excluding Sabah and Sarawak. So there's no news from the authority yet when the changes will affect for Sabah, Sarawak. We're not sure yet. Okay, I don't have the information.
Okay, from Fudge KHJ, reduce on working hours remain. I heard postpone.
Okay, so that's what I mentioned beginning of the session. Watch out for news from the HR Ministry. There were talks that it will be postponed, but it's not confirmed yet. Okay, so watch out for their announcement. The best way is go to the HR Ministry website and look out for any announcement of changes. So up till now, it's not confirmed.
And from Miss Ziha, company need to pay OT after 8 hours or after 45 hours?
Okay, OT you need to pay after the normal working hours. So example, in your appointment letter to the employee, you said your working hours is 9 to 6. Then after 6, if they start working, then you need to pay. So it depends on your working hours that you stated in your contract letter to the employee. It's not based on 45 hours, okay? But of course, now you need to meet the 45 hours mark. But OT is calculated day-to-day basis. So if they work 8 to 5, after 5 is overtime.
And again, from Fast KHJ, if PH falls during maternity leave, the PH should pay back by company?
No. So as I mentioned earlier, even for maternity leave and paternity leave is consecutive days. So 98 days will be consecutive days, including off day, rest day, public holiday. So you don't have to pay extra. You just pay for 98 days, that's it.
Okay, the question from Miss Asnida. We are from F&B industry and our working day is 6 days in a week. As the working hours are stated 45 hours a week, are we still calculating overtime after 8 hours of working hours in a day?
I think earlier I explained, right? After, let's say 9 to 6, then after 6 o'clock, it will be overtime. So it depends. Sometimes some company work 7 hours. Some company work 6 hours. So even let's say you're working Saturday is 9 to 1. Then after 1, they start working, then it's overtime already. So it depends on your normal working hours of your company. So what is constitute normal working hours, you don't have to pay. After the normal working hours, you pay overtime.
Okay, from Miss Yu-Chang, may I know the ORP formula calculation still remain to divide for 8 hours after the implementation of reducing working hours to 45 hours weekly? For example, wages 26 days, 8 hours, or 7.5 hours, example, wages 26 days and 7.5 hours.
Okay, this one will change. So for monthly rated employee, wages divide by 26 is the formula given in the EA. And then it goes on to say that for hourly, you need to divide by normal working hours. It doesn't give the figure 8. Okay, it says normal working hours. So now if your normal working hours is 7.5 hours, then you need to divide wages divide by 26, divide by 7.5 hours. No more 8. 8 only if your normal working hours is 8 hours, then you divide by 8. Because the 8 number is not given in the EA.
All right, I think this will be the last question as we have not enough time yet. So, okay, from Miss Shelly Shahruniza, another question, transport allowance in our company is fixed, meaning that employees receive it monthly. So is this will be considered as wages?
So transport would be excluded as wages because transport allowance is given for employee to come to work, or maybe sometimes sales staff, they're going out to see clients. So they're actually using it for company purpose. So that is why it's excluded from the term wages. So this allowance you can exclude as wages from wages when you want to calculate their total wages or even overtime.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Ms. Carol, for the insightful presentation. And also thank you everyone for joining lunch and learn session today. I am very sorry due to the technical issue today, but we hope after the next session we will be improved and hopefully we will this thing will not happen again. And then for your information, we will be having public training, the Employment Act 1955 on 13th and 14th of September. If you want to know more detail about the course, you can contact me. Also, don't forget to follow our social platform for the latest information on our program. If you have any question regarding on our program and courses, you can contact us through the contact information in the ticker below. With that, thank you and see you again. Bye-bye.